So the Project Contingency guys have just posted a new update video, and that means it's time for me to make another appearance. I could give you the same spiel about where I've been, but it all ultimately boils down to university. Their video this time was quite a bit longer than their previous ones. There's a lot of fluff and PR speak in their video, so I'm going to boil it down to these straight questions and answers along with a couple of my thoughts along the way. The first one is, where have they been? Much like us, they do have real lives to deal with. University courses, real jobs, some of them work at games companies, some of them make games on their own. And they've also had scheduling conflicts. This ultimately means, especially over the Christmas period, that they're not going to have had as much time to work on the project as they would like. Outside of this, they are now working hard again, and they're back at it, so we should see more frequent updates in the future. Will they support ultra-wide? Yes, they will. I will post a screenshot in the video now of a map running in 21:9. Will they be translating the game? Not at the moment, as the engine feature for localization is currently experimental. It doesn't tie into all the features and systems they'd like it to, so at the moment it's off the cards. Will the game support Vulkan or DirectX 12? Vulkan is a maybe due to the fact they'd have to rewrite a lot of shaders and a lot of their workflow in that regards, but DirectX 12 should work out of the box given that it does have backwards compatibility support for DirectX 11. Blueprint or C++? They use a mixture of both. The back-end things are more C++ oriented, networking, that sort of thing, and the more player-facing parts are Blueprint. This gives them the ability to easily prototype things, and then pass them off to an actual programmer to essentially convert all of the blueprints to C++. Distribution. Project Contingency will have its own launcher. This launcher is being modelled in the style of the Battle.net launcher, which means it will be modular and able to support multiple games. And the one extra game they have announced that will be supported in the launcher at the moment is Glassed, which hopefully I'll have a new video on soon. Anti-cheat. This is quite a big one, as a lot of people want anti-cheat, but a lot of people don't want intrusive anti-cheat, and this is a hard thing to get right. The game will of course come with server-side checks for common cheats, so people can't just cheat engine their way into the game and change their kill value or team score. They did talk about potential of an external anti-cheat, though personally I hope they don't go with something too intrusive, as I use a lot of auto-hotkey scripts and things for day-to-day tasks, and having to disable them for things like Game Guard and BattleEye is a pain in the arse. Multiple keyboards and mice for input. While they're not planning on supporting it, if you use a tool such as Lua macros, which will allow you to split your keyboard off into multiple things and use multiple keyboards separately, then you may be able to work around it, though they are not planning on adding anything into the game itself to support this. Customization. For customization, they're planning somewhere between Halo Reach and Halo 4. This means we will most likely get to change shoulder pads separately, helmets, chest pieces, and maybe even sort of an extra on, say, the wrist or something. The game will of course come with emblem customization. As far as I am aware, it will be a 3-stage emblem customization with a background, a foreground, and then your colour variants, similar to how it's been done in Halo 2 and 3. Massive scale battles. Now back in the CryEngine days, they did talk about doing big 32 versus 32 game modes, and while there's the potential for this to be there, they can't guarantee it at the time. This is due to their network subsystem, as they did have to write it themselves. They can't use Unreal's built-in networking, as that only really supports Steam. Will Contingency support Mac or Linux? While they are planning on potentially doing a Mac port after the game is released for PC, they have stated that it is a hard no for Linux. The reason they gave in the video was this was due to a launcher issue, and I kind of hope this isn't the case, as there are quite a lot of Linux players that play games. If it is an issue with the launcher that's the case, then perhaps they can come up with some alternative method to doing it, so that they can either bypass the launcher completely, or make the launcher in a language that will allow for Linux support. Heck, they could do the Battalion 1944 route and make the launcher itself in Unreal Engine. How many maps will Contingency have? Currently, in the build that testers have, there are 20, though they have stated that there are 6 that are going to be polished up, at least for initial release. While the game isn't set on having 6 maps, this is the benchmark they want to go for release, so that players have a decent amount of content to play. Frame rate cap. Will the game have a frame rate cap? Only if the player decides so. The game will start with an unlocked frame rate. If the player wishes to lock their game to 30 frames a second, 60 frames a second, 100 frames a second, 120 or 144 frames a second, they will have the option to do so. While I think this is a great start, I would like to see the options for 200 frames a second and 240 frames a second, as some people do like to play at those extremely high refresh rates. Will the game have centered crosshairs? Yes, as it's being designed for PC and people don't tend to sit on a couch while playing their PC, the game will be designed with centered crosshairs in mind. If the community is really outspoken and they really do want the lower third crosshair, then they may consider it, but at the moment it is just centered. Will Project Contingency contain Halo's staple first-person legs? Yes, it will. And last but not least, how long has Contingency been in development? The short answer is 3 years. The long answer is longer than that due to the fact they were in CryEngine before. 3 years has been the Unreal Engine build. It's crazy to think that UE4's been out for over 3 years now, because I bought it back when it was a subscription. And it's been that long. But the game has been in development for quite a while. The team have stated that they do want to make more regular uploads and do at least a bi-monthly podcast, as well as producing more regular content for the viewers. I will of course link to the Project Contingency Discord and website in the link below. There will be an article coming out alongside this update video, and I urge you guys to give that a read. If you guys have any thoughts on the Project Contingency update video, or any of the things mentioned in this video, let me know in the comment section down below, and remember, stay classy.